Rama asked. The inert object of perception thinks. The Lord, who is the seer of all, becomes the object. How is all this possible? Is it possible for wood to burn fire? So the world out there seems to have a life of its own. It seems to be capable of independent thinking and action. We are actually all in the position of Narcissus. Narcissus was the beautiful youth who fell in love with his own reflection, his reflection as it appeared in a pool of water. He saw in this reflection a kindred spirit. Whenever he bent to kiss the water, the lips in the water came to meet his. But at the moment of contact, it became insubstantial. It disappeared. This person in the reflection gazed lovingly at him. He was so beautiful. This is what's happened to consciousness. It's got hypnotized by its own reflection. It's fallen in love with its own reflection. It cannot let go of its own reflection. And it's wasting away. This is what happened to Narcissus. He wasted away pining for his insubstantial reflection. And this is what happens to our sense of being. Our sense of being has wasted away. So Ram asked, is it possible for wood to burn fire? Because this seems to be what's happened. The fire has been diminished. The fire of our own sense of being has been put out by its watery reflection. Vasistha replied, the seer does not become the object of perception because the latter does not exist. Does a reflection have existence? A reflection arises with no effort whatsoever. It seems to have some kind of reality. We can get caught up in this reflection, but it has no substance, absolutely no substance. So it doesn't actually exist. The seer alone is all this, the one mass of consciousness. It's consciousness that's being reflected in itself, and these reflections become reality. It's the one mass of consciousness. And this term mass of consciousness is interesting. We think that there's consciousness here in me, there's consciousness there in you. Animals seem to have consciousness, insects, and then there's all these inert objects. We tend to assume that living things are the things with consciousness. But we're told it's all one consciousness. And this isn't a woolly, mystical notion. It's like the mass of space. The mass in the sense of not something heavy, but in the sense of it being one thing. And consciousness is often likened to space. And I'm talking about what we call Newtonian space. Space as understood by Sir Isaac Newton, not space as it's understood by modern physicists, which can do all sorts of amazing things. You've got bendy space, space which can curve, and space has got all these extra dimensions in it and sources of infinite energy. So the physicists have got their notions of space which are quite removed from our everyday common sense understanding of space. So that's the space I'm talking about, the space which is directly knowable. This is space, isn't it? And I can cut it up. Look, I've cut the space up into this part here and this part here. Or have I really? Look, I've got a box here. There's some space inside the box. Let's shut it up. Right, I've parcelled up some space. Or have I? What's happened to the space inside this box? It's become notional. There's no direct experience of the space inside the box. In fact, all we can say is that this box exists in space, it's taking up space. So any division, well, let's let the space out. There, we've got the space again. Now, what's happening to the space? Absolutely nothing. We can parcel it up, we can put things in it. This box is taking up space now, and the box exists in space, it's taking up space. But if I take away the box, the space still remains. The space is entirely unaffected, even though the space disappears when the box is present, because the box takes up space. When the box is removed, nothing happens to the amount of space around. You're sitting in space, I'm sitting in space, it's the same space within which things come and go. If I say I remove this box, but I've just taken it off screen, but if I set it on fire and burnt it to ash, then I suppose now it's still taking up space, isn't it? Its molecular components are taking up space. Space actually comes and goes, just like consciousness comes and goes. And it's the same consciousness, it's the same space. My space is continuous with your space. It's the one mass of space. And in the same way, consciousness is completely uncoloured. So whatever is you're experiencing is my experiencing. I cannot cognize it. It's beyond my cognitive process. But the uncoloured experiencing is the same. It's awareness. And awareness is quite different from cognition.